the southwest corner of Utah and northern Arizona, Nevada. And we just rescue rental cars and overlanders. So that was an accident. I would love to say that I was smart enough to do that, but I wasn't. Stupid mistake. We were working on this 70s Cordoba. So what we're doing on this car is what I like to call a resto mod.
About 10 days ago, Matt's Off-Road Recovery invited us to the off-road games, and they were nice enough to give us a booth. We've been cramming to try to get things ready.
Matt Wetzel wasn't supposed to become famous. He wasn't chasing stardom, wasn't crafting clickbait headlines, and didn't have a studio full of content strategists guiding his every move. Yet somewhere between red rock trails and busted axles, this southern Utah towman captured the hearts of millions before the cameras rolled and the viral clips exploded across YouTube. Matt was just a hard-working man doing honest work with dirt under his nails and a wrench in his hands. But the question that keeps surfacing isn't just about how he got famous. It's about what really happened behind the scenes. His life might appear like a slow rise to wholesome success, but beneath the surface was a storm brewing, legal trouble, public doubt, and the looming threat of losing everything he built. From broken vehicles to broken trust, his story became more than a recovery mission. It became a battle for redemption. And while fans watched Matt pull strangers out of deep sand, few realized he'd soon need rescuing himself. This is the story of grit, genius, and a man who went from unknown mechanic to off-road icon, and nearly lost it all. Long before Matt Wetzel ever wrapped a recovery rope or welded a custom bumper, he was just a barefoot farm boy in southern Utah. Born in Washington County near Hurricane, Matt grew up in a large family of 8 siblings. Immersed in the unforgiving rhythms of agricultural life, his childhood was defined not by toys or vacations, but by tractors, harvests, and dusty sunrises. His parents ran a custom harvesting business, working fields from southern Utah to Holden, growing everything from barley and oats to dryland watermelons. There were no silver spoons, just calloused hands and expectations that every child pulled their weight. Matt didn't attend college like many internet celebrities. Instead, he went straight from high school to the workforce, grinding through 12 years in the roofing industry. Eventually, he co-founded Skyline Roofing, where he sharpened not just his tools but his understanding of business, learning to manage crews, budgets, and deadlines. Yet, roofing was never his passion. It paid the bills, but it didn't spark his soul. Deep down, he craved something more. Something that involved dust, danger, and the raw thrill of helping someone out of an impossible situation. And that moment came in 2009, when he bought the assets of a small tow shop, Red Ryder Towing. That purchase didn't just change his career, it flipped his entire life upside down. When Matt stepped into the towing world, he wasn't just jumping into a new job. He was entering a playground of chaos, where every call brought a new challenge buried in Utah's wildest terrain. He rebranded Red Ryder into Winder Towing and began serving southern Utah's most rugged corners, from broken-down cars in St. George to stranded off-roaders near Zion. But it wasn't long before he realized this wasn't a typical towing business. These weren't paved roads and easy winches. These were canyons, dunes, and cliffs. Regular trucks couldn't make it. Matt had to improvise, and that's where the legend began. He pioneered what he called fabric cobbling, a method of building, welding, and modifying vehicles on instinct, not instruction manuals. His recoveries became feats of creative engineering, using kinetic ropes, hand-built rigs, and custom winches to pull off what seemed impossible. Each recovery taught him something new about torque, leverage, and terrain physics. He learned to keep calm under pressure, make life-or-death decisions in seconds, and do it all without ever losing his cool. What started as a necessity soon became a calling, and while the rest of the world saw a guy pulling stuck Jeeps out of sand, they didn't realize they were witnessing the birth of a new kind of roadside hero, one who didn't just fix problems, but redefined what off-road recovery could be. On March 28, 2019, Matt uploaded his first video to a small, scrappy channel called Matt's Off-Road Recovery. No film crew, No editing team, just a man with an iPhone, some duct-taped rigs, and a story worth telling. He filmed recoveries as they happened, sometimes with his wife Kaimi holding the camera, other times with his kids helping out. The formula was simple: answer a distress call, roll into action, and show the grit of real recovery work. But it struck a nerve with viewers. Within months, the videos began going viral. People were fascinated not just by the technical skill, but by Matt's calm demeanor, creative problem-solving, and the sense that you were watching something authentic in a world full of staged content. No screaming, no forced drama, just a man, a crew, and a mission. His use of LumaFusion, a simple phone editing app, made it even more impressive, proof that good storytelling didn't need a Hollywood budget. He turned recoveries into cliffhangers, showcasing brutal terrain, stranded tourists, and the high-stakes dance of physics and steel. By the time his videos started hitting millions of views, Matt realized this was no longer a side project. It was a movement, a channel that would turn him into a YouTube titan, with fans hooked not just on the recoveries, but on the man behind the wheel. As the subscriber count skyrocketed, Matt realized something powerful. He wasn't just recovering vehicles, he was building a brand. Fans weren't just watching, they wanted to support him. So Matt launched a full-scale merchandise empire, complete with kinetic recovery ropes, branded gear, hats, shirts, and even recovery tools. But this wasn't some drop-shipping hustle. Matt's team built a physical store right in Hurricane, Utah, where fans could walk in and buy gear from the source. That store, shockingly, now earns more than their traditional towing jobs. He expanded the operation, brought on editors, increased production value, and turned what started as DIY vlogs into professional off-road documentaries. He spoke at universities, got invited to off-road expos, and became a figurehead in a niche industry that rarely gets the spotlight. His success didn't come from gimmicks. It came from consistency, innovation, and the fact that people could see he genuinely loved the work. He wasn't an influencer pretending to be blue-collar. He was blue-collar through and through. And now, millions followed him, not just for entertainment, but for inspiration. Yet, just when it seemed like everything was perfect, a dark cloud crept over his empire, one that would put all his success and his integrity on the line. Behind every great recovery is a team that knows how to make the impossible look effortless. And for Matt Wetzel, that team wasn't just employees. It was a family in every sense of the word. Viewers quickly realized that Matt's off-road recovery wasn't just about Matt. It was about Ed, the older, steady-handed mechanic with a dry wit and bottomless wisdom. Ed became a fan favorite, praised for his calm under pressure and quiet leadership. Then came Rudy, Matt's energetic, humorous, and ever-loyal son from a previous marriage. While Ed was the calm before the storm, Rudy was the lightning that cracked through it. His presence added fire to the crew's chemistry and brought balance to the slow-paced, strategic recoveries. Jaime, Matt's wife, was the unseen architect of the operation, managing logistics, filming, and even getting her hands dirty on recovery missions when needed. She was rarely front and center, but make no mistake, without Jaime, the show wouldn't run. And then there's Lizzie, not related by blood, but considered family by heart. She grew up under Matt's mentorship and slowly became a trusted member of the team, bringing youthful energy and proving her worth in the field. Add to that Matt's younger sons, who joined for simpler recoveries or shop work, and you had a cast of characters that made viewers feel like they were watching a real-life documentary, not a YouTube channel. Their chemistry wasn't forced, it was forged over time, under real pressure, with real consequences, and that's what made their bond magnetic. These weren't influencers chasing views. They were a tribe, tied together by grit, trust, and mutual respect. But just when the channel felt bulletproof, real-world consequences would remind everyone that no empire, no matter how tight-knit, is safe from fallout. It all came crashing down in 2021, when the Utah Attorney General's office filed felony charges against Matt Wetzel. The charges were serious: insurance fraud, tied to his towing business, Winder Towing. According to prosecutors, between 2018 and 2020, Matt had submitted multiple false claims to the AAA insurance program, either for services that were never performed or exaggerated to secure higher payouts. The charges included 1 count of insurance fraud, a second-degree felony, and several other related felonies. For a man whose brand was built on honesty, trust, and blue-collar values, the allegations struck at the very foundation of his public image. At first, Matt pleaded not guilty. But as the case unfolded and media coverage intensified, pressure mounted. Reddit threads exploded. Supporters were blindsided. Detractors smelled blood. In 2022, Matt reached a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to a reduced charge. The remaining counts were dropped. He avoided prison time, but was sentenced to probation and ordered to pay restitution. The shock wasn't just that Matt had been charged, it was that the charges clashed violently with the public persona he'd so carefully crafted. Fans didn't just tune in to see cars pulled from sand, they tuned in because they believed in the man pulling them out. Now, that belief was being tested, and the real question became, could Matt recover from a wreck of his own making? As soon as the plea deal went public, the internet did what it always does: explode. Some fans were quick to defend Matt, arguing that mistakes happen and that his plea proved accountability, not guilt. Others weren't so forgiving. Across comment sections and Reddit threads, fans debated whether Matt's actions were a fluke or a fundamental flaw. Some speculated that the channel might lose sponsors. Others feared that fans would turn away in disgust. But something surprising happened. Matt's core audience didn't abandon him. In fact, they leaned in closer. Many saw the controversy not as a disqualifier, but as a human moment, a stumble, not a fall. Matt didn't disappear or go silent. He didn't deflect or make excuses. He acknowledged the mistake and kept working. He kept uploading, kept recovering, and slowly, viewers returned. The channel's growth didn't stall. It surged. His content remained consistent. His crew stayed loyal, and his fan base, remarkably, expanded. The very scandal that should have broken him instead became a crucible that hardened his image. Matt wasn't just the recovery guy anymore. He was the man who weathered a scandal and kept going. In a platform full of cancellations, Matt chose to be transparent. Take the hit and climb out of the wreckage. And for that, his audience gave him something rare, not just a second chance, but even deeper loyalty. Today, Matt Wetzel stands not as a disgraced YouTuber, but as a weathered titan who turned adversity into acceleration. Post-plea deal, the channel didn't just survive, it thrived. New episodes were more polished. Drone shots, multiple camera angles, and tighter editing transformed simple recovery missions into cinematic experiences. The store in Hurricane, still booming. The merchandise, flying off shelves. His crew, unshaken. They doubled down, filming more recoveries, traveling farther, and experimenting with new rigs. The Jeep Cherokee XJ, that bright yellow warhorse of a vehicle, remained the star of the show. Heavily modified, instantly recognizable, and practically a brand mascot. Matt's life outside the camera seemed stable too. His marriage to Jaime remained solid. His sons stayed involved. And his team grew closer. The scandal that threatened to derail it all instead acted like a reboot, forcing Matt to be sharper, more careful, and more committed to the values that made people love him in the first place. He became more cautious in how he handled business and more transparent with his fans. And that authenticity, it paid off. Not just in views, but in trust. Because if there's one thing off-road recovery teaches you, it's that no matter how deep you're stuck, there's always a way out. You just need the right tools, the right team, and the will to try again. Matt Wetzel's story isn't just about cars, ropes, and YouTube success. It's about resilience. It's about what happens when a man with humble beginnings builds something big, breaks it, and then chooses to fix it rather than walk away. In a world full of influencers chasing trends, Matt stood out by doing the opposite, staying rooted in his skills, his team, and his purpose. His rise was fueled by authenticity, his fall by mistake, but his redemption, that was all about integrity. He didn't try to spin his scandal into a pity party. He didn't ask for sympathy. He just kept showing up, tightening bolts, pulling rigs, and proving that the man behind the screen was the same guy behind the wheel. And maybe that's why millions still watch. Because in Matt, we don't just see a guy towing vehicles, we see ourselves. People trying, failing, fixing, and driving forward anyway. Matt Wetzel may have started by rescuing others, but in the end, his greatest recovery was his own.